There's something about a great bike climb that makes you realize just how special that triangle with a couple of wheels that you ride around on truly is. For some, it's the great views of the climb. For others, it's the challenge of the climb itself. Others go through all that hard work just for the religious experience of bombing down a mountainside with a white knuckle grip. For me, it's a little bit of all of the above. Anyone who's gotten their first road bike has encountered their first hill. Usually this is a glorified speed bump. A few hundred meters, maybe a 4% grade, and you start pedaling, you notice that it's becoming harder, your heart rate is increasing, your breathing rate's increasing, but before you know it, you're at the top and you realize you can do it. And then as we become stronger, that glorified mound that was such a challenge on day one now is just a part of your route onto bigger and badder challenges. And if you're like me, you begin to seek those challenges out. So I chased that dragon all over the United States, finding bigger and badder climbs, and eventually it led me down a Google wormhole of the best bike climbs in the entire world. And one in particular kept coming up over and over and over again everywhere I looked. That was Alto de Letras in Colombia. Alright, so let's get into Letras by the numbers. Over 50.5 miles, the climb gains 12,820 feet, with a maximum elevation of 12,070 feet. An average gradient of 7.5% without the descents. You will see it listed sometimes as 4%, but that takes into account small descents along the way. So when you're climbing, expect to be really working. 15.6 Fiats, climb category of HC, or basically non-categorized. Extreme difficulty, obviously. The KOM is listed at just over 3 hours, with a solo KOM of 3 hours and 20 minutes by Phil Gaiman a couple years ago. And my personal non-technical classification is epic as all hell. In my experience, you have to choose. Do you want to get good footage or do you want to really enjoy the ride? Being that this is my first go at Letras, I made it all about the climb and enjoying the ride. Therefore, I didn't bring the GoPro with me. With that being said, I did get some shots of key moments that I'll be showing you in this video, as well as discussing some of the climb profile, some things to expect, how to plan accordingly for the climb. And here we have a climb profile for Alto de Letras. Forgive me for shifting back and forth between English units and the metric system, but most of the world uses the metric system, so most of the climb data is available that way. You can see it gets harder as you get towards the end of the climb, and you can see those small descents that lead to that deceiving average gradient. At about 6 a.m., I departed the small town of Mariquita and its tropical climate to head skyward into the Andes. There's a town about every 20 kilometers or 13 miles along the climb. So the first stage was from Mariquita to Fresno, which sits at an elevation of just under 5,000 feet. Focus on finding a good rhythm and power in this section, remain hydrated, keep the carbs coming in, and attack those flat sections. They're a great opportunity to bank some time. Fresno isn't much for seeing or exploring, but it offers an opportunity to refuel and fill up the water bottles if you don't have on-road support. Leaving Fresno, the gradient kicks up a notch to about 6% and remains fairly steady over the entire stretch. There are a couple very short flat sections that offer a brief recovery before the hill comes back to smack you in the face all over again. Steep ascent, recover, ascent, recover. Over this stretch of the ride, the climate zone begins to shift to the Paramo zone. The air is a bit cooler, a bit crisper. The dense tropical vegetation in Mariquita begins to break way into smaller plants with steep, lush green hills filled with grazing horses and cows. Smaller vegetation also happens to mean better views, as one side of the road is bordered by vertical cliff faces and the other drops into the valley below. Now is a great time to take some time to really enjoy the early rewards of the climb. During this section, keep the water, fuel, and electrolytes coming in. As you enter Padua, you're at just under 7,000 feet and about halfway up Letras, but the hardest parts are yet to come. Leaving Padua, the climb gets steep again, with an average grade of about 7%. This section is also where fatigue and altitude begin their 1-2 punch. With every 100 meters of ascent, there's approximately a 1% drop in the amount of oxygen, and therefore the amount of power output at the same effort level. Expect to see your power numbers begin to drop despite the same amount of perceived effort. Dig deep. This is really where the mental battle begins. Delgaditas is barely a town compared to Fresno and Padua, so if you blink you may miss it. Once again, there's an opportunity to refuel and rehydrate before attacking the final 20K of Letras. The elevation at this point is about 8,400 feet. The final 20K, you're almost to the top, and you may be thinking you have Letras in the back at this point, but wait, the pain train is about to roll through. The toughest bit of the climb lies just ahead. The 13 kilometers leaving Delgaditas features switchbacks with an average grade of 8% and several sections exceeding 10%. Not only have over 40 miles and nearly 10,000 feet of elevation been covered already, but at this altitude there's only 70% of the amount of oxygen in the air as there was at sea level. Expect to see your power drop off precipitously. The final 4K averaged just under 6%. The contrast with the hell of the previous 13 kilometers paired with the fact you're almost there breathe new life into your legs. Push with everything you have left and continue past the signs marking the top of Letras to make sure the segment is complete.
Hey Billy, congratulations! Gracias. Video.
Feeling good. About 5 hours, just over 5 hours, no stopping. Altitude is tough, but awesome. Couldn't have done it without you, Juan. Way to the top. Not very easy on my new amigo Triple here. Woo! Mis piernas. Ah! How are you feeling?
Hey! You very strong, the monster of the American United. Yes, the winner of team. Hey.
Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. It makes a huge difference into how these appear in the search results on YouTube. Check out some of the other epic route cycling videos that I've posted on this channel so far. And I do have some other projects coming up, so stay tuned.